Hi Rapunzel, it's Naomi Rose. I'm here with a really exciting tutorial for you. This is a variation that I did on Andrea's quick princess veil tutorial that she recently posted. It's really beautiful and very formal looking, and I came up with it recently. So I'll show you how to do it. You need a couple things. First, you need a rectangular scarf. Nice big one. This is a Shinylicious. You could also use something like a Dewdrop Sparkle. In Andrea's video, she used the Sundial Splash. I will say that I would recommend you don't use a pashmina. Don't use anything heavy. Use something big, as big as you can find, and long and rectangular. Okay, so that's scarf 1. Scarf 2 can be a few different things. I'm going to use a sash. This is a Shadow Bright sash. Very lovely. You can do also either a square scarf, fold it into a triangle, or you can do a lace scarf that already is a triangle, like the Dreamy Lace or the Lovely Lace. We have a few of those on Wrapunzel. And some of the pictures that accompany the blog post that's going to go with this video, you can see me wearing this with a square shiny scarf and with a lace triangle. And they both look really good. But this time I'll use a sash. Those are your two scarves. Now you need two more things. One is a pin. Nice brooch, something very pretty that you'd like to feature. I would suggest using something where the pin part on the back is pretty big and very easy to use because you're going to have to be working with it behind your head, and that's kind of hard if you're using something really small and fiddly. So try to find your easiest pin that you also like the look of. And finally, you'll need a little tricky thing. This is also mentioned in Andrea's video. When you make a knot in part of this wrap, and I'll show you later what I mean, you need to secure it just to make sure it stays for the rest of the wrap. And you can either do that with a small brooch, or you could do it with a safety pin, or depending on what kind of scarf you're using, if you have a scarf with a loose weave, which the Shinylicious does have, you can actually use a little bobby pin. I'm just doing that because I know from experience that it works. If you're more comfortable with the safety pin, then you can obviously do that too. Okay, so those are your supplies. Before I get started, I also want to say, and Andrea mentioned this too, that if you often wear a lot of volume or you wear your volume very high, you might want to consider not doing that for this wrap because the way that the wrap is tied is going to give you some volume there. So if you already have some, it will be even more, which is a great look, but it's not for everybody. Me personally, I find that this wrap works best if I go much smaller and lower with my volume than I usually do. So I'm wearing a signature shaper, which is smaller than what I usually wear, and I have my bun very low. And it'll sit, the wrap will sit on top of that, and the extra volume the wrap creates will be about where I would normally wear my volume, which is kind of how I like the look. Okay, enough details. Let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is to take your big rectangle and fold it to fit your head. Like so. If you're using something really big like a sundial splash, you can tie it with the ends equal. However, I've found that scarves like this Shinylicious and probably the Dewdrop Sparkle as well are not quite long enough to do that properly. So, because you want a nice long veil at the end of the wrap. So what I do with this, I'm tying it unevenly. This end is about maybe 1/3 and the other end is about 2/3 of the whole scarf. I'll show you how we're going to make it work later. To check it, your shorter end, which is this one, should be able to come up to here and still have a little bit left over to make a knot. If that's the case, then your shorter end is exactly the right length. Okay, so you tie at the nape of your neck, just like usual. Okay, and you have a long end and a short end. And you can smooth out any little wrinkles that happened while you made your knot. All right, now take your second scarf or your sash, whatever you're using. And this one looks great if you just leave it messy, so I'm not going to fold it too carefully. Just let it be all messy and pretty. You're going to tie it this time with equal ends. Make sure they're exactly matched with this one. You really want them exactly the same. Let's see here. There we go. And I'm tying these underneath the Shinylicious ends in the back. Okay, now you're almost all set. The next step, after you fix anything you want to fix with your sash or your second scarf, the next step is going to be exactly the same as Andrea's video. I would highly recommend, by the way, that you watch that. It'll help you a lot with this. So you take your short end and your long end, or if you're wearing something really big, they might be equal. You fold them a little bit, and you're going to bring them up. This is not, you're not going to see this too well because, again, my volume is low, so I'll try and turn around backwards. But I also know that you can't hear me when I'm backwards, so we'll try and do a little bit of both. You're going to bring them up, and you're going to tie a knot on the top of your bun. The trick with this is if you have a long and a short end, you want to make sure that when you tie the knot, there's two ways to tie a knot. When you tie the knot, you want it to be so that this long end comes out the front of the knot. If that didn't happen, you want to undo your knot and try again because you need the long end at the front if you have one long and one short end. The short end can be at the back. So there's the knot. You can kind of fiddle with it. Alright, so the short end doesn't matter so much. You can kind of spread it out over your bun as Andrea does in her video. And this is the time for your little safety pin or what have you that you brought. You can put it in two places. Andrea secured it by spreading this out and putting the pin here. That works very well. You can also spread the bottom shorter end, this end, out and put the pin below the knot to anchor it into the wrap on the other side of the knot. So I'm going to do that. I'm using a bobby pin because I happen to know that bobby pins will go right through these without doing any damage. But again, you could use a little brooch or a safety pin if you have a different scarf or if that's more comfortable for you. All right. Okay, now that's secure. Now I want to take this and spread it out right over my face. Okay, I know this looks ridiculous. All right, so once this is nice and flat here, you bring it and flip it up and back and then smooth this out. And this is that little poof that I warned you about. If you have high volume, it's going to be even higher. But since I had low volume, it's pretty normal looking for me right now, just the way it is. All right, so this is your veil. This is kind of where Andrea's tutorial ended, but we have this extra thing, and this is where the fun part comes in for this tutorial. So what you're going to do with this is very hard to do if you only have one mirror. I would actually, if you can, I would recommend having two mirrors facing each other. If you don't have any setup like that in your house, you can take a small like compactor bathroom mirror in with you, just so you can look at the side and back of your head while you're doing this. I'll warn you that since I can't do that right now, this end result might not be quite as pretty as some of the ones in the photos that I've done because I was looking at both sides and right now I can't. But that said, I'll at least show you what you need to do. So these two ends are the key to the next part of this wrap. We're going to bring one up this way and one up this way. And I would recommend bringing them directly up, not like back, but up this way. Okay? And they're going to kind of meet in the middle. So they're holding back the veil a little bit. And you get this sort of really beautiful, regal kind of like tied back hair effect, which is really gorgeous. And we're going to pin these two. I'm going to turn around and do this again so you can see it, but I'll have to be silent when I turn around. So I'll do it, we're going to pin them together and pin them into the Shinylicious or whatever scarf you use that's making the veil at the back. Okay, so I'll turn around so you can see what I did with the ends from the side and from the back. And then I'll grab my pin and pin it. So here's the side view. And this is what it looks like at the back. So you have these beautiful Beautiful draping ends of all colors down the back of your wrap. All right, so you grab your pin. You want to get a little bit of each of those draping ends and a little bit of the veil underneath to anchor them, all with the same pin, which is another reason you want a nice, easy to use pin that you're comfortable with. So I'm going to do this behind my back. I have no idea how it's going to turn out. But trust me, if you use a compact or a second mirror, you'll be able to get exactly the look that you want. Okay, so I have no idea if that was off center or not, but you can imagine that if you're looking that you can adjust this look quite a lot. You could have it, the pin and the ends drape lower, you could have them anchored very, very high. You can do lots and lots of different things, but that's the basic idea. You can add a pretty headband or a brooch to this to make it even fancier, but that's how it goes. This is the Duchess wrap. I hope you enjoy it. There's tons of variations you could do with this if you use different types of scarves or different techniques. So enjoy. Can't wait to see what you create. Bye.